Alright, guys. It is Friday, March 18th, 2022 at 5:26 p.m. Alright, let's start with a daily verse of the day from dailyverses.net. It says, I will give you a new heart, and I'll put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. Ezekiel 26. Alright, guys, let's start with string sounds. We have the NOAA spring prediction of 2022. The West mega droughts will persist and get worse in the coming months, making water availability a high concern. I'll leave you guys the link to this article about the possibility of drought on the western side of the country, increasing and affecting millions of people living there is very big. That will also impact farming, and that will also impact the food amount the country will be able to grow, and that will affect people and pretty much everything. So I'll leave you guys a link to that article. Alright, next. Massive cracks in the ground in slow moving landslide. Damage destroys 90 houses in Tijuana, Mexico. A geological tragedy is unfolding in Camino Verde, Tijuana, where more than 30% of the families have been evacuated by officials, due to landslides, cracks, and fissures that are slowly but surely destroying everything on their path. Meanwhile, the number of houses affected by the landslide in the Camino Verde neighborhood has increased to 277. So it's a lot of uh, landslides and homes being damaged. I'll leave you guys the link to this article so you guys can check it out. But it says officials say the ground slides 3.9 to 4.7 inches, about 10 to 12 centimeters per day, cracking homes, roads, and endangering the lives of thousands of residents. A lot of landslides have been going on lately. Alright, next. Let's take a time to look at. It says what time will tame the U.S. truck prices. Apparently, not even the economic slowdown. Extra safe features not really a factor, as freight demand meets inadequate supply. So not even and that will apparently um, tame the truck prices, which will eventually increase the economic slowdown of delivering goods. Alright, Maersk warns China's COVID lockdown disrupts supply chains. Contingency plans have been activated. So, a lot of COVID lockdowns disrupting supply chains. That's what we've been hearing. Alright, next, an unprecedented wave of brazen gasoline thefts is rippling across the United States. The thin veneer of civilization that we all take for granted on a daily basis is rapidly disappearing. People are stealing gasoline because they can't really afford, so they go to thievery and stealing. Not right. Alright, next, trans swimmer dominates field to become female NCAA national champion. I don't think guys should be swimming in female sports, and I don't think females should be in male sports. That's just not right. Next, but can U.S. vital interests dictate the end to this war? America's desire may be to inflict or defeat Putin's Russia. U.S. vital national interests, however, dictate a negotiated pace. I'll leave you guys a link to this so you guys can check out all these articles. Alright. Next, Biden warned Xi Jinping of China of consequences if China materially supports Russia during a call. Shortly before the afternoon press briefing, the White House belated issued its call-out readout summary. The Chinese side has called for direct talks between NATO and Moscow to solve the Ukraine crisis. While the fresh White Russia. Let me read this right. Fresh White Russia as it constructs brutal attacks against Ukrainian cities and civilians. So President Biden is speaking to Xi Jinping, and who knows exactly how it's going to go. They outlined views of the United States and our allies and partners on the crisis. President Biden detailed our efforts to prevent and then respond to the invasion, including by imposing costs on Russia. He described the implications and consequences if China provides materials to support Russia as it conducts brutal attacks against Ukrainian cities and civilians. I'll give you guys a link to this article as well. It just slowly is showing me more and more that the end times are here. Like it's pretty much slowly. Have you seen that picture of frogs being boiled in a pot? Slowly, things get worse and worse and worse, and I just think Jesus is the only answer to saving us from all of that. Alright, next, the CDC removes 24% of child COVID 19 deaths, thousands of others. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has removed tens of thousands of deaths linked to COVID 19, including nearly a quarter of deaths that it had listed of those under 18 years old. It says the health agency quietly made a change to its data tracker website on March 15th. Data on deaths were adjusted after resolving a coding logic error. This resulted in decreased death counts across the demographic categories, the CDC said on the site. The CDC relies on states and jurisdictions to report COVID 19 deaths and acknowledges on its website that the data is not complete. But the statistics are often cited by doctors and others when pushing for COVID vaccination, including figures who believe virtually all children should be vaccinated. Dr. Rochelle, of the CDC director, cited the tracker's death total in November 2021 while pushing for an expert panel to advise her agency to recommend vaccination for children 5 to 11 years old. Before the change, the CDC listed 1,755 children as dying from COVID-19, along with approximately 851,000 others, according to Kelly Court of Georgia resident who's tracking the updates. The update saw the CDC cut 416 deaths among children and over 71,000 elsewhere, arriving at a total of just under 780,000. The agency declined to provide a comment by deadline. So they're pretty much cutting out numbers. Who knows if it's to make it look nicer or not, but that's pretty iffy. I'll leave you guys a link to this article as well. Next, 400 bulletproof vests destined for Ukraine stolen in New York City, officials say. Their thieves stole about 400 bulletproof vests that were supposed to be sent to humanitarian workers in Ukraine, officials said. The bulletproof vests were stolen from the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America, a nonprofit organization based in Manhattan. The New York Police Department confirmed to news outlets on Wednesday. People right now in our community, they're either in church praying or everyone is feeling disenfranchised. They have no power right now, and then this happens, and it absolutely affects people. Ukrainian Congress Committee of American spokesman told NBC4 the police responded to a call of a burglary around 9:15 a.m. before they were informed that approximately 400 bulletproof vests were removed from the location. The New York Police Department Sergeant Edward Riley told the outlet. He said that those vests were meant to be sent to medics, aid workers, and others, but not Ukrainian military members. So that's sad that they were stolen. I'll leave you guys a link to the article as well. Alright, guys. Excuse me. Next, Pope Francis warns final catastrophe could extinguish the human race. Pope Francis warns that the escalation of the conflict of Ukraine could lead to a final catastrophe that would extinguish the human race. Speaking during this weekly address, the Pope said humanity would have to start from scratch in the event of a thermonuclear war. Our imagination appears increasingly concentrated on the presentation of the final catastrophe that will extinguish us, said Pope Francis. What happens with eventual nuclear war, he asked. The day after this, if there still be days and human beings, we will have to start again from scratch, destroying everything to start again from scratch. Excuse me, guys. Alright, so he highlighted the apocalyptic flood imagery and gaining ground in our subconscious, a reference to the biblical flood. Despite the Pope's warning, a new poll finds that staggering 1/3 of Americans are willing to risk nuclear war to fight Putin. Alright, guys, so this just gives me creepy vibes all over. I don't like the Pope. I don't trust what he's teaching. He kind of doesn't really follow the things that it says in the Bible. He pretty much follows his own drum beat, as I have covered before in videos about the things he says about the certain stories I've covered. but it pretty much just gives me creepy vibes about the Pope. Don't like it. Alright, next. The CME hits Earth, sparking G2 moderate geomagnetic storm. So there's been geomagnetic storms coming from the sun, following long duration of C2 solar flares. So there's been plenty of solar flares coming from the sun, and that has been affecting the satellites and the planet. It also possibly increases earthquakes. Excuse me. Alright, next. At least 60 homes buried after part of a hill collapsed in northern Peru. At least 60 homes were buried by a landslide in La Libertad, a mountainous area of northern Peru, around 800 LT time on March 15, 2022. At least 7 people are missing, and there are fears there could be dozens buried under the rubble. The slide took place in Cinco Esquinas sector, the Relmus district of the province of Patas, after a period of intense rains. So, a lot of landslides have been happening. One in Mexico, now in Peru as well. So, please pray for the people in that landslide. May they be found and not stay buried under that dirt. Please pray for them. Also, pray for the people in Mexico. Pray for each one of us because we all need it. And see you guys next time. That's pretty much the end of my video. Sorry I was coughing throughout everything. And God bless you guys. See you guys next time.